Today, let's talk about Russia and their extensive petroleum industry. Between the historical context, current status, economical impact, geopolitical events, and influence, environmental and social issues are the main discussion components on this topic. First is the Baku oil fields, where the modern Russian petroleum industry began in the mid-19th century with the development of the Baku oil fields. In 1846, the first oil well was drilled in Baku, marking the start of large-scale oil production present in the Baku oil field. Nobel brothers in the 1870s, the Nobel brothers Ludwig, Robert, and Alfred entered the Baku oil industry, significantly boosting production and introducing advanced technologies. This also brought on mass wealth. The brothers were invested. They amassed the wealth through the development of the new oil regions operated in Baku and Chelchen. After the Bolshevik Revolution in 1917, this led to the withdrawal of Russia from WW1. The Soviet government nationalized the oil industry. Despite the Civil War's devastation, the Soviets managed to sell significant amounts of oil by importing Western technology and capital. This kick-started the petroleum world in Russia. After WW2, the Soviet Union continued to expand on its oil industry, becoming one of the major global producers and exporters. The dump of cheap Russian oil in the late 60s is what led to the formation of OPEC, or the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries. This helped regulate and stabilize the price of oil around the world. Following the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, the Russian oil industry underwent significant privatization. Many state-owned enterprises were sold off, leading to the rise of major private companies like Lukoil. Later in the 2000s, Russia renationalized its oil industry, taking back control and power with state-owned companies. Russia is the third largest oil producer in the world, accounting for over 12% of global crude oil. The country has an extensive network of subsea pipelines to transport oil from offshore fields to onshore processing facilities. Russia has developed significant offshore drilling capabilities, particularly in the Arctic region. This includes the use of ice-resistant platforms and advanced subsea equipment. The use of automated drilling rigs and robotic systems is becoming more common, improving efficiency and safety in oil extraction. Russia is implementing digital technologies to create smart fields that use real-time data to optimize production and reduce downtime. International sanctions and price caps, particularly those imposed by the G7 and the EU, have significantly impacted Russia's oil revenue. The price cap policy, which limits the price at which Russian oil can be sold, has forced Russia to sell its oil at a substantial discount compared to global market prices. This has led to a marked decline in revenue from oil exports. For instance, 23 compared to the same period in 2022 due to the sanctions. Russia has had to redirect its oil exports from Europe to Asia, with China and India becoming the primary buyers. Before the sanctions, Europe was a major market for Russian oil, accounting for 44 to 5% of its oil exports. The Russian federal budget saw a significant decline from 2022 to 2023, with revenues falling by 24%. This decline is largely attributed to the reduced income from oil and gas exports, which are critical to the Russian economy. In 2023, oil and gas revenues contracted by 24%, contributing to a federal budget deficit of approximately 3.2 trillion rubles. The increased military spending due to the ongoing conflict in Ukraine has further strained the budget. In response to Western sanctions, which have restricted access to advanced offshore drilling technologies, Russia has been developing alternative technologies and seeking new partnerships. The sanctions have particularly impacted the availability of high-tech services and equipment from Western companies. To mitigate this, Russia has turned to domestic companies and Asian partners to fill the gap. For example, Russian oilfield service companies have been working to develop their own technologies and capabilities to maintain production level. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, the United States and its allies have imposed extensive sanctions on Russian corporations, financial institutions, and individuals. These sanctions have significantly affected Russia's oil revenues. Russia's Ghost Fleet is used to transport oil covertly, bypassing international sanctions. These vessels often disable their tracking systems and use ship-to-ship transfers to disguise the origin of their cargo. The fleet primarily consists of older ships, which are more prone to environmental risks and accidents. Geopolitical tensions have contributed to volatility in global oil markets, with prices experiencing significant fluctuations. This instability is partly due to the market's anticipation of further disruptions in Russian oil supplies. These are two parallel pipelines running under the Baltic Sea from Russia to Germany. This pipeline became operational in 2011. The United States and several European countries have opposed Nord Stream 2, arguing it increases European dependence on Russian energy. Sanctions were imposed on companies involved in its construction. Russia has a history of major and significant oil spills, such as the leak in the Komi Republic in 2021. Oil extraction activities have severely impacted ecosystems, particularly in regions like the Konnai-Mansi and Yamal-Nenets autonomous districts. Russian oil and gas operations have a very high emissions intensity, which is almost double the global average. This is due to not strong methane regulations, poorly managed operations, and leaky pipes. Drilling in the Arctic poses significant environmental risks due to the fragile ecosystem and the difficulty of spill response in icy waters. The melting of permafrost due to climate change threatens the stability of oil infrastructure in Siberia and the Arctic. Oil extraction has led to the displacement of indigenous communities and has caused health problems due to pollution and environmental degradation. Traditional ways of life, such as reindeer herding and fishing, have been disrupted by oil industry activities. This is the works cited page.